I like having as many wires and things. This is nice. All right, Mr. Chair, you are live and recording. You can begin whenever you wish.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on our YouTube channel. Welcome to members of the audience and welcome to council and staff. I'd like to now call the roll. Please raise your hand and state your presence when I call your name. Mayor Watson.
Hi.
Deputy Mayor Allison. Present. Councilor Burgord. Present. Councilor Johnson. Present. And our staff present with us today. CAO Alana Arthurs. Clerk Martina T. Hart.
Good morning.
And our interim treasurer Paul is not here today. Chief building official Don Elman. Fire Chief Chuck Pedersen. Morning. Planner Christina Coulter, she's joining us online here. Morning, Christina.
Present. Morning.
Manager of Public Works Jake Condon. Morning. And Manager of Recreation Facilities Mike Mood. Morning. Okay, so with a quorum of in attendance, I call the meeting to order. And our land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Initiative. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care, teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor those teachings. Okay, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest for the meeting? Seeing none, adoption of today's agenda. Mayor Watson, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. We have no delegation. We have one delegation today, Jacob Hanlon, and he will be online with us with the food cycle science. And welcome, Jacob.
Thank you very much, Mayor and councillors and members of staff. Just want to make sure you can hear me okay. Everyone can hear me all right?
Jacob, we can't hear you. Can you try one more time, please?
Can you hear me now?
It's Christina. I can hear you virtually, but I will send a message to them I think there has to be a change made to the owl. So give me a second.
Can council hear me now?
No.
So I'm sending them a message, Jacob, just so.
Christina can hear him, but
Okay.
we can't hear him.
No.
We just see what's going on here. Give me one moment. Jacob, could you try one more time for me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Sorry about that. That was our problem.
Okay, but you can hear me perfectly now? Okay, fantastic. So I will share my screen here and get started. Okay, so I just want to start by saying thank you very much for having me on this morning. My name is Jacob Hanlon and I'm the Municipal Program Coordinator at Food Cycle Science. And I'm really excited to be here to discuss a food waste diversion opportunity for Douro-Dummer. I hope we are a friendly face for you as we typically have booths at FCM, Roma, NOMA, and other various municipal conferences in Ontario. To briefly speak about who we are a little bit. So Food Cycle Science is a Canadian company. We're based out of Ottawa, and we are 100% focused on food waste diversion solutions. So we do this using our innovative technology called the Food Cycler. If you haven't heard of the Food Cycler, it's an in-home food recycler. And while it is sold direct to consumers through partnerships with companies like Vitamix, we also put them in classrooms and schools with some of our partnerships with not-for-profits like Eco Schools Canada. And then the reason that I'm here today is to speak about our municipal programs. So our municipal programs help many small, rural, remote, and northern communities keep food waste out of their landfills. We're currently working with 115 Canadian municipalities across 9 provinces and 2 territories, from Nelson in British Columbia to some small towns such as Haines Junction up in the Yukon Territory, And then really across most of the rest of Canada, especially here in Ontario, where we're partnered with many communities who often face struggles with food waste management, or where curbside green bin collection isn't necessarily an option or the best option for them. Our program has been very successful in Peterborough County. We have programs in Selwyn, Trent Lakes, Norwood, and Havelock. And between those 4 lower tiers, there are 1,000 residents who are diverting their food waste with food cyclers within the county. North Kawartha is currently in the process of a program to start in 2024 as well. And overall, it's just really great to see the level of interest in the program throughout your region. So I'll just briefly speak on the issue here a little bit. So the problem with food waste is that it is avoidable. It accounts for a large portion of our household waste, sometimes even a majority. And it's made up of mostly liquid, which is obviously unpleasant to deal with. And it is heavy, it's sticky, it's icky, and it freezes in the wintertime. On top of that, when we do put food waste in our garbage and it ends up in the landfill, it's responsible for generating some pretty harmful greenhouse gases. So all these factors make it so that food waste is a problem that has a strong municipal impact. So one of the impacts to municipalities is that since food waste makes up such a large portion of our waste stream, it is causing our landfills to fill up quickly. Operating a landfill is obviously quite costly at the municipal level, whether it is municipally owned or through the hauling fees and transfer tipping fees. And overall, we want to extend the lifespan of our landfills for as long as we can. Environmental impact here is that when we do put organic waste in the landfill, it's in an environment where it's being squished between tons and tons of waste, doesn't have the necessary access to oxygen to properly break down. So it's in an anaerobic environment. And when it's in that environment, it's producing methane gas, which is quite a bit more harmful than CO2 for our environment. When we look at our communities, putting food waste in the garbage causes, as I mentioned, some pretty unpleasant odors that humans aren't too happy with, but animals are obviously quite interested in that. So bears, raccoons, other pests like to get into our trash and make a real mess of things. So removing food waste from the garbage eliminates these issues, and overall it reduces the volume that ends up in our waste stream and in our landfill. And this can save the town and the county on hauling and disposal fees, save space in the landfill, and it can definitely save residents on any hassle and any extra waste fees that they might face, such as bag tags, for example. So we often get asked the question, haven't we solved this problem already? And yes, there are green bins, which are common in big cities with high population density and the right infrastructure, but this can be pretty cost prohibitive, can be operationally challenging to implement. And there's always the issue of participation when it comes to that curbside program. I'll use the example of Ottawa here, for example. We've had our curbside organics collection since about 2009. We only have a 58% participation rate across the city. So I think it's a prime example of a place where having multiple options or having alternatives for residents would go a long way in increasing that participation. When we look at backyard composting, many people in your community may backyard compost, and it is a great solution, but unfortunately it's not feasible for everybody. It's certainly not a year-round solution either with our winters that we have here in Ontario. And there's still a concern about bears and other animals getting into that backyard bin. And then finally, the easiest solution is to continue to landfill organic waste, but the long-term impacts here, as I touched on, are costly and harmful to the environment. So I'm going to play a short video here just to kind of show what the food cycler looks like and what it does. So essentially what we've done is we have proposed a different way to deal with our food waste. And this includes decentralizing the process and making food waste very easy to deal with right at home. So we've essentially built a small appliance. It doesn't have to go on your countertop or in your kitchen, as you can see with that removable bucket. The food cycler can go anywhere in the house that has a plug. You can essentially process about 95% of your daily food waste. So this includes things like meat, poultry, fish, dairy, even some bones, as well as the traditional backyard compost material like fruit and veggie scraps. And then what you do is you push a button, and in 8 hours or less, you end up with a dry, odorless, and nutrient-rich soil amendment, quite similar to a fertilizer. On average, the food cycle processes between 1 and 3 kilograms of food waste per cycle. I mentioned that each cycle takes less than 8 hours, so typically an overnight process. And they use between 0.8 and 1.5 kilowatt hours of power. So similar to having a computer plugged in for the same amount of time. And what you end up doing most of the time is running it overnight when rates are lower. So electricity really isn't an issue. in terms of the consumption and the operating costs of the machine. So we currently have 2 household solutions that we deploy in our municipal programs. Both are actually similar in their countertop or their footprint that they take up within your house. But the biggest difference is the Eco5 on the right there. That has a 5-liter capacity. FC30 on the left has a 2.5-liter capacity. Both machines work the exact same way and work great, but we typically recommend residents who are in households of 3 people or more to choose the Eco5. But we ultimately leave it up to the resident to decide which machine is best suited for their household in the program. And I just want to emphasize here with this visual that in the cycle that takes less than 8 hours, there's about a 90% reduction in the weight and volume of food waste. And that end product is actually something that is quite beneficial and usable for residents. And I'm going to show you some alternative uses for that byproduct here. So while most residents in our programs like to garden, like to use their food cycler byproduct right at home, we understand that not everybody has the space or the know-how or the time to actually have a garden. So some other options for that byproduct are adding to a backyard composter or tumbler or green cone. It can be integrated into existing leaf and yard waste systems as well. It can be dropped off at a local compost site. We like to work with municipalities to see if there are opportunities to partner with local farms or community gardens so that residents have an opportunity to keep that byproduct within their community and still provide some benefit from that. And then lastly, it can be added to a green bin as well if that service is available. When we look at the impact in terms of the economics of the food cycler program, and when we compare that to the traditional waste management method, the traditional method is a heavily burdened system. It has unrelenting costs, trucking and labor and maintenance. There's just a lot of moving parts and costs that build up year after year within that traditional program. When we look at the food cycle program, it's a truly decentralized approach. It avoids unnecessary additional labor costs, no extra greenhouse gas emissions from trucking and putting more trucks on the road. And there are no infrastructural costs to the municipality or the resident either. So I mentioned that we're working with over 100 municipalities within Canada, and to date, we've completed pilot programs in over 50 of them and over 6,000 households. And the results we've gotten from these programs have been extremely positive. I won't go through every stat that we have here on this page just for the sake of time, and I believe you have a copy of the presentation there as well. But a couple that I'll highlight are the participation rate is 98% of pilot participants are going to continue using their food cycler as their food waste diversion solution. I touched on Ottawa's poor participation in our green bin program here. Seeing a 98% participation rate is very encouraging, and it's great to see that residents really enjoy using this as their solution. And the other one I'll mention is that net new diversion stat. So approximately 300 kilograms of food waste is diverted from each participating household per year from the food cycle program. It's huge in terms of landfill space savings. That's 300 kilograms per household per year. That's not being either dropped off at a transfer station, it's not being put in trucks, and it's not contributing to any greenhouse gas emissions. So really good results from these programs. I'll mention as well that many municipalities have expanded their programs as well after an initial program. I'll use the local example of Trent Lakes. They're on their 3rd round of food cyclers right now. They have almost 600 in their community. I believe they started with a small program of 150, and they've added on year after year since then. We've also had programs like in the city of Nelson in British Columbia, who started with similar size small programs, and they're now in the process of putting a food cycler in every household in their city of about 5,000 homes. So I'll briefly touch on our federal funding that we have for this program. Summer of 2022, we were awarded with a $400,000 grant from Impact Canada's Food Waste Reduction Challenge. This is a 3-part initiative from the federal government. And the point of the whole program and the target is to reduce Canada's food waste. So we've been implementing this funding into these programs, and you'll see in a couple slides here kind of the cost structure and where we've implemented that funding. I will mention that any future funding that we receive from this challenge, every municipality that has partnered with us to date will have the right of first refusal on that funding as well. And we definitely want to honor our partnerships and implement new grant funding into those for expansions and for scaling up those programs as well. So a couple slides here left before I wrap up and open it up to some questions, but I just want to briefly go over this pilot program timeline. Typically, it's a 12-week project. Residents will purchase the food cycler at the subsidized rate from their municipality. They'll use the unit and track the number of cycles per week using the resident guide and tracking material that we provide. And then at the end, residents get to keep their food cycler for good. And we ask them to complete that brief survey so that we can evaluate the program's success and collect the data that I showed in that other slide a few slides back. And then what we do is we compile all that data and put it into a nice report, and we present it back to you. And we can use that data then to show obviously diversion, participation, really good statistics like that. And we can use that to support future waste management decision-making within the township. And we can also use that to accompany any kind of grant applications or recommendations to expand the program further. So the funded pilots work based on this subsidy model here, where Food Cycle Science provides that initial discount. That's the municipal discount there in the second line. The retail price you see at the top is what you would typically find on the Vitamix website or on Amazon. So between our municipal discount and that Impact Canada federal investment from the grant, you're looking at a 50% reduction in the price of the unit from retail. We then ask the municipality to subsidize the cost by $100 per household as well. And that participating resident would then pay the $150 or the $300 for the larger machine. And that subsidized cost comes from everyone having what we like to say is some skin in the game. We find that having the resident paying a portion, they're going to use the machine, they're going to be invested in the program, along with that municipal subsidy, the federal investment, and our subsidy as well. Everyone is invested and everyone is really looking to see this program be successful. Last slide here before I wrap up, but we just have some pilot-sized recommendations here, and I just wanted to be transparent and give the overall look at what the cost would look like for the municipality. I believe that you are just above 6,000 residents in your township, so we would recommend the 100 household program. This would be a municipal investment of $10,000 plus shipping and HST. But again, these are recommendations based on our experience. We're happy to tailor the program based on your needs or your budget. And overall, this is the kind of program as well where it's not a one-time thing, at least in our eyes. We really value these partnerships, and we love to see a first pilot just be stage one in something like what Trent Lakes is doing with a year after year or a scaled up program as time moves forward. I'm not going to go through all these benefits here as you have a copy on your end, but these are just some reasons that may resonate with you as to why you should consider piloting with us. I will mention that on top of these points, we've just seen a lot of success in the programs in Peterborough County to date. Residents are quite interested in this solution, and overall, even at the municipal level as well, the cost savings from reducing all that waste that's no longer going into the waste stream and into the landfill has been huge. And we're happy to share more data on your neighboring communities programs as well if requested. So lastly, I'd just like to say thank you for taking the time to listen to the presentation. We'd like to welcome the Township of Douro-Dummer as a partner in this food waste reduction challenge and in the food cycle program. Today, I'm just asking that you kindly receive this presentation as information. And if there is interest in partnering with us in a funded pilot program, I just ask that you refer us to a staff member to bring back a report and a recommendation in a future council meeting. So thank you very much for your time and attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Council, committee members, any comments, questions you'd like to pose? Mayor Watson.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation. I feel like this is something we've heard quite a bit through our county colleagues, and we're seeing success, and residents have certainly contacted me asking when we could bring such a program into Douro-Dummer. I mean, I feel proud that in 2018 we were one of the first municipalities to launch the Clear Garbage Bag program to help reduce the amount of food waste going into garbage and into at the dumps. I'm curious though, with a unit like this, you talked about the maintenance and operating costs. What is required for ongoing maintenance? Do they require filters? Does the basket need to be changed out? And what does that look like long term for people who have one of these units? How long do they last? How do they get part service? All that kind of stuff.
Yes, thank you very much for the questions, and I'll try to make sure I answer everything in there effectively here. But so essentially in terms of the maintenance of the machine, There are carbon filters in the machine to make sure there's no odors that come out. As food waste being processed can be smelly if it's not used with any kind of air filters. So it's essentially activated charcoal within there. They last 3 to 4 months on average, depending on the usage of the machine. And within our municipal programs, residents have access to our online portal for residents where they can get filter refills at a discounted price. We're looking at about $20 per filter change. So from $60 to $80 per year for residents in terms of that maintenance cost. Other than the filters, there are no other maintenance aspects of the machine. The bucket is essentially self-cleaning throughout the process. It's a very simple and effective machine and solution. And other than the filters, there's nothing else needed from residents. In terms of the life expectancy of the machine, the smaller machine has a life expectancy of between 5 and 7 years, and the larger one, the Eco 5, is between 7 and 10 years. When we get asked questions about replacements and things like that, they all come with a standard 1-year warranty within our programs, and our team handles all of that. So we make it very clear to residents if there are any troubleshooting needs or replacement needs or questions about the machine, they have our information to reach out to us. We don't necessarily want them burdening staff with these questions. So if a machine needs to be replaced, we take care of it with residents and we handle those replacements. And overall, with that life expectancy as well, when we look at our typical waste contracts, typically they can be a 5-year contract with a +1 and a +1 to make it up to 7 years. We really look at that as kind of a similar setup with our machines, and we're going to make sure that they last as long as possible and that they don't end up in the landfill, and that residents have that ongoing opportunity. So with that kind of 5 to 10 year life expectancy, we find that it lines up really well with existing waste contracts.
Thank you for that.
Councilor Report.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. Mayor Watson, thank you for asking the question on life expectancy. That was one of the questions I had. The second one I had was, where are the units produced? Are they Canadian made, American made, or offshore?
Yes, thank you for the question. So our whole team and company is in Ottawa. We have a team of about 20 engineers who are here who they design our products. Currently, they are manufactured overseas. They come from China. Our end goal is to have everything done here in Canada and ideally in Ontario. Unfortunately, just the way things are right now with prices and costs of materials and everything, they are coming from overseas. Not the most ideal, and I mean, the end goal is to have everything here, but being completely transparent, they come from China, they end up in Vancouver and Prescott, our 2 warehouses here. And then from there, we have inventory that is always stocked up to make sure that quality control is done and everything like that. So we've been running these programs for a while. It's a very specific process that we go through to make sure that warehouses are stocked and we have replacements on hand and everything like that. So we're very, very hands-on with these partnerships.
Thank you.
Other questions from members of the committee? Staff, any questions from members of staff for Jacob? Seeing none. Jacob, I just have a couple here. It said in the report there that you could take what was coming out of the machine and put it in gardens also, but you could also put it in your outdoor composter. Is that going to help with what's already in the composter, or is that just sooner or later you're going to dig it out and use it anyhow? That's my first question.
Yes, thank you for the question. So essentially, this has sped up the processing of food waste to end up as a finished kind of fertilizer, or eventually as a finished compost if it ends up in that backyard compost bin. I guess to take a step back, if you decide to mix it into your garden, it is quite nutrient dense, and you want to mix it in at a 1:10 or a 1:20 ratio to the soil. You want to consider it to be a fertilizer, where if you dump it in a big pile around your plants, it's going to be way too dense in nutrients, and it's not going to help in that sense. So there is a bit of a method to putting it in your garden. But when it comes to putting it into your backyard bin, you can put it in as if it was food waste, just pour it right in. It is already along in the breakdown process, so it will end up as compost if you have it in that backyard bin, and it will get there a bit quicker than if you were to put raw food waste in.
Thank you. And my second question, for a pilot program, if our township's interested in doing a pilot program, is it just however many people apply for it, or do you come up with, like, you want to try 100 or 200 people in our township, something like that, and supply the units to them to get, or do they have to buy them right up front, even if it's a pilot program? I'm just curious with that one, because if they got them on a trial basis, kind of like that, and then build out a report on how they work, is that how it works, or do they buy them right up front?
So thank you for the question again. And we have a couple different options we can go with. For some municipalities who are quite confident that this is something the residents want and they've seen success in neighboring communities, they'll often follow the recommendations and approve a program for 100 or 200 households. And then we'll work with your staff members to set up a registration. We'll work to promote the program within the township, and residents will sign up. And then once we get all those registration places filled, then we deliver the units out and have them sent to residents, or have the residents come pick them up at the town office, for example. In places where council just isn't necessarily sure if this is something that the residents want, we can also set up kind of a pre-registration where we help gauge interest beforehand, see how many residents are interested, and then we can tailor the program to that number.
All right, thank you. Deputy Nelson.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your presentation today. Just one question I have is how many competitors do you have in the industry?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and that's a really good question. So in Canada, I believe we have 2 other competitors who offer similar technology to consumers. And in the States, there's one for sure as well. However, in terms of these municipal programs, and especially programs that have the federal funding that go towards reducing municipal waste at the resident level, we are the only company that does this in Canada. We've been doing this since about 2020. And with our 115 partnerships, we are definitely nationally recognized as a solutions provider in the municipal space for food waste. So there are competitors out there with similar technology and products that do similar processes for food waste, but we are the only company that provides municipal programs and have the federal funding to go towards them.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other?
Not a question, Chair, but I'm ready to make a motion, if you're ready to hear that motion.
All right, we'll just make sure we're on the table once more. Any questions from staff? Any questions from committee members? Mayor Watson, floor is yours.
As I said, I think that, generally speaking, this is a good concept. I know residents are asking us about this, and I think there's no harm in having staff look into what options are available. I think the timing's a little challenging with budget where we're at right now, but I would move that we receive the presentation with thanks and have staff report back at a future meeting on how such a program could work in Douro-Dummer.
Thank you. And Councilor Ward, second that?
I'll second that.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments? All in favor? That's passed. Thank you very much, Jacob. Well noticed, and again, thank you, and good luck in the future with everything, and hopefully this flies big time right across the whole nation.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words, and I appreciate your time for the presentation, and have a great holiday season, everybody.
You also, thank you. All right, thank you very much for that. That was a very knowledge-filled presentation. With the permission of the committee, we'd like to move 6.3 up the building department report up to start things off. So if that's okay, Don, you're on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. You have my report in front of you. Thank you. Just a few numbers that I could give to you right now is that we again have had just over 200 and some odd applications this year for 2023. We've issued just over 200 permits as well. So we're close to our 1-to-1 ratio. We do still have about 20 or so in queue, and so some of that additional issue that we've issued was kind of holdover from the 2022 year, so that's why we still have a little bit higher number in the review between the difference of what we have been submitted versus issued. Our budget we met our budget for this year, so we should hit a balanced budget, which is something that we aim for. As you can see, we've been busy working on just rolling out the receptacle inspection program again and making sure that we're ready in the spring to get that and make sure that, we've heard our ratepayers' concerns from what had happened, during COVID. We just want to make sure that they understand the value that they're gonna get, and that we make sure that we give them the value that they deserve. And if there's questions from the committee.
Through the chair, just one question I have, how are we coming along with closing these permits? Like before, we had some very standing long ones. Are we ready to work on them?
Through the chair, thank you very much. That's, so one of the things that we've been focused on in the last month is of the review. So we started with a very high number in our review, and we've been going back through and making sure that if there's something that's fallen through the cracks, that we've addressed it with the person. Some of them are just permanent withdrawals. They've decided that once we've given them the revisions that we need, they say we don't want to go ahead with that. So we've gotten that number to get down, and that's why we're in where we are. So we are working on closing up some of those files that are lingering on.
Awesome.
Through the chair, first, Don, congratulations on, and thank you and for accepting the role as our official CBO as opposed to our temporary. I'm curious, I know months ago now, it seems that you put in the customer service policy. I'm curious where you're tracking in terms of customer response times and giving them the feedback that they need, and you know how that's faring within the department.
Thank you, through the chair. I don't know if I have that we have a tracking mechanism for how the policy, I think that we would monitor concerns that the public has, and then look at if we've been following the policy, if there's a loophole, what we have to. So one of the things that we know that we're still working at getting better at is cloud permit has a minor deficiency within our department where when an applicant uploads new documents, we don't get a notification that they've done that. And so part of our policy within, not outside of the customer service policy, but just the departmental policy, is that when we send that message out that we require additional documentation, whoever's sending that message out is supposed to communicate how they should be notified by email once the applicant has uploaded the new information. And so we have seen the odd time where that has fallen through the cracks. So now what we've done is we're working on getting a standard document that when the submission happens, it's something that, and I will address, I apologize, we have a new staff member as well, so I forgot to introduce her, but with our new administrator, when that submission comes in, one of the things we're going to do is we send out a document that clearly outlines just what I'm talking about, is that if an inspector or a building official asks for supplemental documentation, to please notify, and it's going to include both the inspector and our administrator. And so that's going to be put out right when they submit. And then also when the building official is asking for those additional documentation, then they will also put the same message in. So we're trying to get that message out. The only other option that we have, or one of the other options we have, is through cloud permit, is to take them out of the submitted and put them back to draft. And that would stop this confusion. The challenge is that we can't continue the review if we do that. So what we're trying to do within our department is if someone comes into us and they don't have, let's say, all their documents 100%, we want to give them the feedback of the documents they need, but we still look to progress their application along and continue to do what we can. If we push them back to draft, which is the simpler version, we can't do that. And so then their application becomes frozen. So we know that we have a little bit of challenges that happen in our communication, but we think that challenge is potentially better than freezing everyone else's application and pushing them back to draft. And that's why we've chosen that route.
Just as a follow-up, I want to make sure that my non-technical brain understands this. So when a building permit application is submitted on cloud permit and the application is reviewed but then rejected, kicked back, needing more information from staff, the applicant gets notification through cloud permit that happens, great. But then when the resident resubmits or provides the additional information through cloud permit, staff aren't getting those notifications? Is that what I'm hearing? Just in the
Through the chair,
mentioned?
correct.
Okay.
That is something that we don't get. We don't get a notification that someone's uploaded something to that workspace and for us to go look at.
Okay, so now the workaround is to communicate to residents that when they resubmit necessary required documents, to, not only resubmit them, but send a message to staff by email or through the chat or something, right?
Email.
So I think that's a significant flaw, right? I think and it's not the building department's problem, but it's now become the building department's problem, right? Where I would like to believe, in working with different software that I do in my private sector, that there ought to be some sort of workflow or integration to get that notification that something has been there. And surely this isn't, exclusive to Douro-Dummer Township using cloud permit. I think that there's probably an opportunity to have some dialogue with the software providers with cloud permit to find out what other municipalities are doing. Because in my mind, going to these types of tools are to help with bandwidth, right? Free up people's time, our time from a staff perspective, having to go in and check every day just in case something doesn't slip through the cracks, and also residents' time, right? And you would think that the software would accommodate for that. So I appreciate hearing that the challenge is there and that you recognize that there is a challenge, but I think that there's perhaps an opportunity for some more dialogue with the developer of the software to see what can be done to fix it on a more permanent way as opposed to a workaround.
Through the chair. Thank you very much. And we have, and we will continue to have dialogue with them. Absolutely. We have had the dialogue. There is some features that they propose to bring out. It was supposed to happen about a year ago. When they were ready to launch, they hit some significant bugs that happened. So they stopped the launch of that. And one of the things that in our conversations is they've designed the software more that because there's not a complete application, it's to go back to draft. And that's really what the system's designed to do because of the way that the code and the act acknowledges that we only are to accept complete applications. So our challenge is that we try to offer that higher level of customer service and want to keep working towards getting their permit issued. But the system's designed to say, you don't have a complete application yet, we're going to put you back to draft, but then that stops our review capability. That being said, we will continue to have that conversation and see if we can get them to help us with that. But I think one of them is frozen in the application that they're putting in that had the bugs. And it was where we went from in review to a change request.
Fair enough. And my only final comment on that is if the developer doesn't have the solution baked into their software, perhaps their API is open so that there can be some sort of third-party integration using another tool like Zapier or Mate or something like that to glue it all together. So, and they probably would be the ones to suggest that, but it's something that our IT staff could perhaps look into as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments? We'll take a motion to receive the thanks. Councilor Johnson, Councilor Ward, all in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Don. Okay, back to 6.1, Chuck. Floor is yours.
Good morning. I'll make this brief, but if there's any questions in my report, I'm happy to answer them, but just a couple highlights. Our Station 2 renovation project is looking pretty good. The only thing that we believe it'll be complete by the end of the year. The only pieces that we have a finished stonework that's not finished, so that depends on the availability of the person and the weather. Other than that, all the materials are bought for that, so that should be fairly close, if not complete. We were able to finalize our Sir Samuel agreement at the UATA for the 3 years. Our training center, good financial stability for the upcoming years. As far as response goes, we're within 6 calls of last year, so we're pretty much on par. Based on your comments last time about catching what does other mean, and we kind of explained that, I did throw in on this particular one what other call types were for this type of report, so hopefully that answers some of those questions for the future. Appreciate it. The other thing that's not in my report that I just wanted to update committee on is we had a water issue at our Donald Fire Station, and thank you to our deputy mayor. We had him come out and look for water because it's been on the cistern since its inception in 1968. Anyway, we found a couple of spots, but they were either not on our property or in a spot that wasn't ideal because of the location. Fire trucks driving over a well isn't really a great spot, so we ended up putting another cistern back in it. Based on the information we had at the time, which wasn't a lot, We started the project, our public works department was doing the work thankfully, and anyway, the tank that was there was significantly larger than what we anticipated. I think over the years, filling it with fire truck water, non-potable water, the sediment's just taken up a lot of the tank. So the tank, and then there was an addition done to that fire station for the training room, which anyway, the tank then became larger. It ended up being under the parking lot and right up to the wall of the addition, 13 feet down, I think, approximately. So we would have potentially caused a huge void and caused a potential building collapse or whatever we want to call it from digging out that close. So we had to shift gears. So initially the project was going to be, we figured it'd be around a $6,000 complete project. So we had to cut the top of the tank because of the metal tank that was leaking. So we had to fill that with a product, and based on where it was and how access was, we ended up putting a cement type of product in it. So obviously that was a costly adventure as well. And then put the new tank adjacent to the other tank. So the project is complete. We were able to get through that. We did initially the budget, fell within our normal operating expenses, but then we kind of acted as under the emergency repair piece as approved by our CAO, and then we did finish that project, but we came in around $16,000 total project cost for that. The benefit for the budget to support that was because of the changes in 2023 with the grass cutting and the snow plowing. We still had budgeted for the third party, and we weren't, at that time it was still there. So that budget hadn't been used, so we were able to cover the cost. It won't have an impact. We're not asking for additional money, I guess is what I'm saying, but just to let council know that did happen. But it's all fixed, and we're gonna continue like we did with our Douro station, to be putting potable water in that, so we won't run into these issues. And we had to change a couple of appliances because they too were plugged up and everything from the sediment drying from that whole tank and mixing everything up. So that's our story in that nutshell, but just wanted to update you on that kind of project that went, almost everything that could went wrong, but we overcame it, and that's behind us now, hopefully. That's all I have to add. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the committee?
Thanks for your report, Chuck. Just one thing, I guess, on the numbers. I guess we're looking like we're pretty close to being in line. Maybe might even go over in calls until the end of the year.
Yeah, through the chair, Deputy Nelson, yeah, we're kind of on average. I think I said we're about 6 below the same time last year, so that can certainly be changed pretty quickly, but I would say that we're looking as projected.
Okay, thanks. Make motion to receive the thanks.
Motion with thanks with Councilor Johnson, and second by Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much, Chuck. On 6-2, recreation facility, Mike, you're up. Sure.
Thank you, and through the chair, just a couple of highlights from the report that I just wanted to chat about. Through the Ministry of Natural Resources storm relief, we were able to do the Johnson Trail boardwalk. That construction has gone underway, and I believe if it hasn't been completed today, it will be in the next day or two. So that's given a lot of that trail open back up to the residents. Feasibility study that we're working with Simple Refrigeration. We've created an account with the FCM for the grant now, and I have provided Simcoe with a number of information on each facility, so they are starting that application process now, and we'll be well underway for the new year. So it's a good thing. Another thing, water bottle fill stations, they've been also installed at as of last week. midweek. So far, I know at Douro, we've saved about 60 water bottles, because it gives you a counter of how many water bottles saved. I have not checked the Warsaw one yet, but I'm sure it's gotta be well used as well, so that's good to see. And the window replacements at the harvest room in Douro, they have been ordered. I was given about 5 weeks, and that was approximately 3 weeks ago or more. So we should be coming close. I don't know if we'll get it in time for Christmas, but the new year for sure. And the roof repair, we decided to look at it a little bit differently, in the sense that we're given the time frame and going through a tender process and everything. We just focused in an area of concern for us with the roofing company, and they were supposed to get it last week with the weather, so it should be done this week, hopefully. And those issues will be addressed. Happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions from committee members? Mayor Watson.
Through you, Chair, thank you very much. I know on Friday I happened to be walking into the Douro Community Center. Before I even was in the vestibule, a parent was on their way out and super excited to see the water filling station. So great addition to both those facilities. I'm seeing here on your administrative, the very last point of the work of permit to move chip truck at Douro Community Center. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yeah, sure. Through the chair to Mayor Watson. It's just us staying or keeping a good relation with Orca. The chip truck was in the corner there. They've decided to move it more permanently and put it on the grass in parallel with the rec center building. As of right now, it's been moved to that area, but it's not actually in its exact place. Because it's so close to a provincially significant wetland, we decided just to go through Orca. It was no trouble. It was given to us with no concerns. The issue was there would be some minor groundwork to place some pads for supports for that trailer. So essentially, when you go to the site, you'll be looking at the facility, and then the chip truck will be flush with it, with everything else behind that way, so.
Okay, and then just a follow-up then, are there costs to that work, be it the permit or additional landscape costs? And is that something that we are absorbing, or are we passing that on to the tenant?
So for the work of permits, we're not charged any of that stuff. For the groundwork and the supports for the trailer, that's all on management.
Great, thank you very much.
Councilor Johnson.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for the report here. The thing that I don't see and haven't seen for a while, but it seems to be getting more and more of a problem. I don't know if the lights are getting weaker or not, but in Douro, the lighting seems to be getting, like, I know when we put them in 20 years ago, whatever, that was the thing of the day, that like to be put in. But now it seems to be very dull. And do you notice that? Do you get comments from that from people? And therefore, are we keeping that in the back of our mind that if any grants or anything comes along, that maybe we can shove that in? Because I do think we need to look at that.
Through the chair to Councilor Johnson. Yeah, to be honest, like that lighting style wasn't necessarily the best option, I guess, to go with at the time that it was in there. It was a little bit cheaper than the option of LED, because LED at the time was kind of new to the industry, so the pricing was a lot higher for that. It has been a concern I've seen over the years. I feel though that maybe there might be some options through this feasibility study that will look at all of that and provide alternate solutions for us to go forward. And
I just want to keep that in mind when we go forward. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, are we talking about the interior
The lights
lights
over the ice service.
over the ice service, not parking lot lights? I wasn't,
no.
okay, thank you.
Councilor Ward.
Through you, through the chair. I think it's been a couple of meetings since we've last seen, but just wondering if it's possible to get some utilization numbers on facilities, just to see where we're at and tracking to last year in terms of facility utilization and revenues, et cetera.
Through the chair to Councilor Berger. Yeah, that's no problem. I was hoping to do that in the first of the year, at our next committee of the whole, and I can give you everything up to date to the year. Because when I sent it out last time, I think it's 2 weeks, but after the last committee of the whole, there really hasn't been any much changes because I gave you the projection to the end of the year. We have received new bookings for sure, so that those numbers will change slightly, but because I gave you the projections at that time, I wanted to give you the actuals.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I just have one, Mike, and it's just a curiosity, the Christmas program with the Norwood High School, what is that?
To the chair, it's actually, we've had some blow-ups, Christmas decorations out there that aren't the most ideal for snow conditions or windy conditions, so I had actually talked to the CAO and the treasurer to see if we could approach the Norwood High School shop class to weld up actual silhouettes of decorations and then light it. So the Norwood School was happy to take this on. Unfortunately, at the start of the year, because I talked to them last year before this school year started, but they had a renovation in the shop and it got held up, and they got into the shop probably a month and a half later. So that's why we didn't get to see them for the Christmas parade, but they're working on them. I haven't seen some of the products so far. I suspect it should be done in a week or so, and then we'll have to figure out we'll paint them, prime them, paint them, and then figure out how we're gonna, the best lighting options.
Thanks. All right, Councilor Ward,
I'd like to make a motion to receive with thanks.
thank you, and the seconder, Councilor Johnson, any other discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 6.4, Jake, Public Works.
Thank you, through the chair. You all have the report before you, so I won't get into it too detailed, but both docks and the Craftons and Crow's Landings have been removed. As Chuck mentioned, we did do some work with the fire hall to help them out there at the Donwood Hall, as well as the Douro Fire Hall parking lot project. We completed 3 of our final capital roads projects, the Douro 4th line, 3rd line, and the 7th line, mid-Dummer. We've had 2 winter events in November, which required sanding from staff. On the waste side, the transfer station holiday hours, it will be closed Sunday the 24th and Sunday the 31st. Transportation is open on the Saturday before those 2 dates, so we feel it's adequate coverage for those that time. One other thing is the yard or green waste bin. The weather's been, I don't want to tell you, it's been great, so we've kept that bin in place a month longer than previous years. So I'm expecting probably by the 20th we'll have it removed before the holidays and for the season, and it'll be back in April. Yeah, and that's about it. If there's any questions, I can answer.
Questions, comments from the committee? Councilor Johnson.
To the chair, Jake. I have a concern that I'm hoping that you'll have a few months to think about it, on the roads. I must say that throughout the year, I think the roads were very well kept, and you're on them quite a bit, and which I was very glad to see the grader out there pretty every day. But the roads that we've had this ongoing problem for a lot of years, of that, whatever you want to call it, gunk or mud or whatever, coming up through and we put gravel on top a few years back, a lot of these roads, and it solved the problem, but now it's coming right back up through. And I do think that the study that was done there, I don't know, a year, 2 or 3 or 4 ago, they said that we could, because I suggested doing it back when you couldn't drive on the darn roads. The mud, you wanna call it mud. It was just awful. So I think it was recommended that we could take the grader and move that to the side of the road and clean that off. I don't know how we would do it with the gravel already there, but I think that's something we gotta think about through the winter. Like right now, when it's cold out, it's not so bad. But you get it back into the rain or whatever. There's so many side roads at least on the Douro side there that's just unbelievable. Like this muck, yeah, and mud or whatever you wanna call it. So I'm just bringing to your attention that think about during the winter, what we're gonna do come spring, because, people are just they're so unhappy. You know, and I just having to run into them in a lot of things I'm involved in, and, you know, they hate talking about it, but they got my ear because it's been there for years. But, I really want you to think about what we might do come spring, because I do think we gotta get that off the road somehow, because it's just throwing gravel on top works for a few years or whatever, and just works its way right back up. So I really wanted to get that across, that you really think about that during the winter, how we're going to address these. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about on the muck on these roads. That's all I want to say. Everything else in the report was good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mayor Watson?
Through the chair, garbage pickup and our contractor on garbage pickup. I know that there's been some challenges lately, it seems. I've heard a few folks have missed, and there's been some concerns. Do we have any light at the end of the tunnel that it was a short-term problem and that we won't have problems going forward? Or how are things with our garbage contractor these days, Jake?
Through the chair, we have had discussions, I have had discussions with the contractor. It's legitimate reasons that the staff, it's either staffing, trucks, breakdown, road conditions. Whether those all combined reasons are loading up, I guess, and all coming in at once, I don't know. But we have had discussions with the contractor. We've been assured that the issues are going to be resolved. You know, we are reaching out and showing them that we are not pleased with the service. So I'm hoping that I have reached out to the manager and have not heard back from him as of yet. I'm hoping to have another discussion with him just about the recent road conditions. Winter road conditions was the last cancellation of some of the garbage pickup. So when I have a conversation with him, I'm gonna hopefully get a better read on what the issues are and what they're doing to help remedy it.
Thank you, and I appreciate that you're on the file. You know, if this was private sector, right? Like if I was the contractor, you know, where's the customer service? Where's the contract that says that, you know, thou shalt pick up garbage, and if you don't, you're in default of this contract, and, you know, give us some money back, or I don't know, maybe those terms are in there in terms of delivery and service expectations. I also would be curious to know when that contract comes up for renewal, renegotiation, reevaluation, and what our options look like beyond the current contractor, and you know, do they want our business ultimately? And I'm only saying this because, like, obviously you say you're going to be meeting with them soon. Like, these are concerns that I have and questions that I'm going to be looking to get answers to when we do get to a point of contract renewal, right? So I think it's important that they're very aware that the service standards isn't what I expect, and I don't think it's what our residents expect either for what we're paying for. So how do we get them to come good on that?
Thank you, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Your motion, Mayor and Mayor Watson. All in favor? Great. Thank you very much. Christina, how are you?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Watt and members of the committee. You have my report, so I'm not going to go through everything, but I do have a few things to highlight. The Building and Planning Department have successfully filled the administrator position, which has been vacant since approximately August. So we are pleased to welcome Jenna Ward to our township. She comes to us from the YWCA with over 20 years of administration, customer service, and social outreach experience. Jenna started with us on November 27th, and she's already started jumping in and helping in any way that she can. So if you haven't met Jenna yet, please pop by our office and say hi, and Jenna would love to meet everyone. A couple of other items. The county is reinitiating the technical advisory committee for our county official plan. And the first meeting for that is scheduled later this week on December 14th. I'm going to be participating on that along with county planning staff, and we'll be reviewing proposed policy changes, looking at the new proposed provincial planning statement and policies and what might need to be changed in the official plan since it has been adopted last year. The goal would be to draft some modifications to the new OP for submission to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing for consideration and ultimate approval once the new provincial planning statement is in full force and effect. Just a couple of notes with respect to the subdivisions within the township. We did get draft plan approval for the Clancy subdivision in Donwood. There were no appeals to the subdivision application and no appeals to the official plan amendment application. So that plan is moving along nicely. With respect to Halls Glen, my report does indicate that peer review is ongoing of the second detailed engineering submission. However, since the writing of my report, we did receive our peer review comments, and we have forwarded those on to the developer and his team for review and response. And the subdivision that has been submitted for Warsaw is still in its peer review phase. It has not received a draft plan approval. As mentioned, there's no public meeting required for that, but we have received a number of comments from members of the public, which we will be including in our report and discussions to council when that time comes forward. And I think other than that, I just want to say we have had a busy year with land use inquiries and pre-consultations and planning applications. And I did just want to thank council and staff and the agencies that we work with for their support, and thank the public for their patience as we have worked through some staffing issues this year and some workload issues. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Watt, for any questions.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments from committee members?
No, I'll make a motion with thanks to receive.
Mr. Johnson, Deputy Nelson. Any other discussions, questions? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Our finance department update is not coming out today because Paul is away. So we'll move right on to the clerk's department. Okay, let's motion just to receive the finance one with what's in our package. Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councilor Johnson. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Now you're on, Martina. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you have my report in front of me. As always, I've included our yearly stats from our different meetings. So as you can tell, it has been a really busy meeting for really busy year, not only for council with all the special meetings we've had, but also for all of our committees. They've all been quite busy and done some excellent work this year. Just want to highlight freedom of information requests. This has been our busiest year yet with those. We've got 8. 1 is currently ongoing. It's quite large and keeping up a lot of staff time. On the complaint side, we've got 19 complaints. 1 is still active and we're working on resolving that. For marriage licenses and civil ceremonies, we've issued 2 licenses and held 1 ceremony. So that's new to our township and we're Lottery licenses have also been quite busy this year. We've issued a number of licenses to a variety of community groups to help them with their fundraising efforts. What else do we have here? That's, for our placement student program, we did finish all of our interviews and we have been matched with a student at Trent. She'll begin the 3rd week of January. We're pretty excited to have her. She's also from a small community, so she's really excited to work in another rural small community where her work will have impact, and she's excited to meet everyone in the new semester. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have with me, or the committee may have.
Questions, comments from committee?
I'll just make a comment. I've seen, since we've hired you full time, you've been doing a super job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
I know you're very busy in different committees that we all go to. And you end up coming to a lot, and we want to thank you again for helping us out on those things. But no, I just make a motion to say thanks and receive the report.
Second to that, any comments, questions? I just have one comment, the complaints, that's a lot, but, 19 and 18 were done, so that's pretty good science, so that's, commendable, thank you.
If I may say, because we have the new complaints policy that council complaints, I believe it was the end of 2022, that allowed us to start monitoring these complaints in a different way than we have before. So while the number is higher, we're having much better outcomes on these complaints because we are resolving them quickly within that 30-day window that council had put in place, and so they're not lingering. And I think it's allowed us to build a better relationship with those that have concerns with the township.
I believe the one that's left over is in the legal kind of stage, whatever, if I remember correctly, is that correct?
No,
No? Okay.
it's not. It's a different one.
It's a
That's
different one?
outstanding.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right. Motion on the floor, all in favor? Carried, thank you very much. And last but not least, our CEO report.
Thank you, through you, Chair Watt. Just going back to our treasurer's report, if there are any questions about that at all, certainly I can take them or I can, refer them back to Paul. So I know we've gone past it, but if there were any concerns about it, I don't mind addressing those as well. With regard to my report, again, just some quick highlights from an HR perspective. Obviously, we've finished the CBO recruitment as well as the administrator for the building department. I've also initiated the performance evaluation for all of management staff. That should be completed towards the end of January. Once that's done, they can move on to the rest of the staff. So we have that completed early in the year to address 2023. Our strat plan is moving right along. So we've had a number of meetings and consultation with the consultants, and we're continuing to have conversations and hoping to take a look at that draft early in the new year for council as well as the public to provide comments on. We worked through some agreements with regards to our recycling contract with CMO, still working towards the Edwards Pit agreement and how we're going to manage that, and the Stony Lake transfer site. So there's some ongoing discussions about BECAs and whether or not we could have two, and discussions with the ministry. So I think we've come to a conclusion, and we have our solicitor working on that agreement, and I'll come back to council early in the new year. Certainly worked with our treasurer to finalize the budget for 2024. And just various meetings with CAOs in the county with regards to economic development, physician recruitment, as well as some grant opportunities that are available. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Yeah, I got a question through the chair. That green view. Now, I know we're still working on the land and everything else, but are we still working on existing drawings that they showed? Or is that we don't even worry about that until we get the other sport set up? Like, once we get things going, I'm like, God, I hope we can get going instantly. So I'm just wondering, because one time they were talking about changing some of the plans.
Through Chair Watt to Councillor Johnson, there are certainly some moving parts. Currently, we're trying to deal with the stormwater management. So we had an ECA, although there's been some changes to the site. So we're currently just trying to work with the owner of the other parcel to try to address the stormwater to ensure that our building is protected from any future water that could infiltrate the area. We don't want to end up flooding out our own building. So we're currently working on that. There are some minor modifications that we were planning to make to the drawings. So as soon as we have the water issue dealt with, then we can take a look at exactly, can the building remain as it was intended? in the location? Are there gonna be any modifications to that? And we'll move forward with finalizing those drawings and hopefully construction next year, early next year.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Watson.
Through the chair, the OPP billing webinar, I think it was just very recently. Could you give us a glimpse as to what the expectations are moving forward?
Sure, through through Chair Watt to Mayor Watson. The OPP webinar was very high level. It was open to, any municipality in Ontario just to understand. So for those that were here, they went through a whole billing model change some time ago now. It was quite some time ago. I want to say 2014, somewhere in there. So there was a lot of predictions that would happen. A lot of municipalities, their costs were going to increase. Some municipalities' costs were going to decrease, and they took it, I think, over a 3-year period to have those differences just mitigated, so it wasn't a huge impact to any municipality. And then they had some forecasting that occurred throughout that process. So overall, what they provided to us was that they're forecasting the actual costs that they anticipated had come down provincially. So it looks like, things are being managed well. The new model has worked well. So essentially that was the basis of the webinar, is just to sort of have an understanding of where they're at.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Ward.
Through Chair Watt, just one question on physician recruitment. Wondering if you could shed some light on where things are at in that process.
Through the chair, the physician recruitment, we had a gentleman in place that was to do some physician recruitment countywide. Unfortunately, that didn't work the way that I think it was expected. So they have just brought in Lori Ritchie, who is active in the environment. She's done some work in this scope, or this type of work in the past. So she is on board now, and we met with her just to go over what her intent was. I think part of the challenge that we were having is we weren't brought together as lower tier municipalities. Everybody was very siloed and everybody was working on their own. Asheville did some great work independently to bring physicians into their community, but there wasn't that discussion amongst municipalities to try to work collaboratively. So I think Lori coming into this position is going to try to do that. I know she's had some initial conversations with the medical center where, we've asked to have some discussions just about what's happening there. And is there opportunity that we can look at physicians for our residents? So it's still in the fairly early stages, but I think having Lori Ritchie there is going to be helpful for the county as a whole to try to look at the issue.
Questions, comments, anyone?
I'd like to make a motion to receive with thanks.
Thank you, seconder. Deputy Mayor Nelson. All in favor? Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you to all staff members for that. 2-minute break, Ray?
Yeah, I have a break anyways.
All right, and as our CAO, Alana said, if anybody does have questions or comments on the finance side of things, whatever, she can maybe answer them or get them on the call.
Yeah, I'll fire off a quick one. I just need it in front of me again, I apologize. The 2021 audit is substantially completed. Can you remind me in terms of what we've submitted up to 2022, right? Like for the financial reporting requirements of the province, like that's on?
I don't believe 2022. So I will follow up with Paul. I believe the audit has to be completed and then the auditors will send that information. The information for the 2021 audit should be completed by next week. That was to be wrapped up in 2023. So that has continued to be the timeline, and then the reporting will go to the province with regards to the FIRs, and we will start right into 2023 in early next year, or 2022, early next year. 2023, I believe Paul's timeline was July.
Okay, for 2022.
For 2022 to be completed, and then 2023 to be completed by July. Okay. To get us back on track to where we should be. Great, thank you very much. Yeah.
Perfect.
It should be easier now. I think the information that when he was trying to gather and provide the information to the auditors was historical and things that he hadn't had his hand in. So these ones moving forward should happen quicker. The information should be readily available to him without having to dig and then look for where the information might be provided. So hopefully these ones will go quicker. And certainly there's always the concern with funding and any kind of grant funding when the province is looking at our financial returns. So it's important that we get those done.
All right, thank you. So that concludes our manager's updates. Other business, so discussion on ORVs on township roads, and I will turn it over to our CAO.
Thank you. Through the chair, the information that you have in front of you in the agenda is essentially just the reports that we've provided historically. The last time we were at council, it was suggested that we come back to committee of the whole and take a look at the roads in the township. We do have Christina who will bring up maps as we need them. The OPP did join us, which is great if there's questions. Really, this is just an opportunity for council to have a discussion about where we go from here.
Perfect. Okay, who wants to start off? Just open up to anyone on the committee that would like to comment or get things going or where we should move from there. Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Yeah, through the chair, thanks, Mr. Watt. I believe it would be really helpful if we could bring up a map of our township and show that mapping where the roads already are opened up through the county. If we, I think the last one that we had there is not totally complete. I think there's a bit of it missing on that.
If through you, if you can reference it, I have the maps that were attached to the report. So if there's one in particular that you want me to reference, I have all three open unless I'm missing anything.
Yes, I believe one section is missing there on that map for the county roads that have been already approved by the county. And through us, actually, the county has opened them roads already up through the bylaw. So from County Road, I believe from the Douro Arena on County Road 8 out to would be 38. That section is actually open within the county road system.
Is that one attached to the report, Alana?
Christina, no, that map doesn't exist. It's something we would have to create, but if you just go back to the map you previously had up.
It pretty well covers everything else, I believe. It's just that one section.
On that map, you would just extend the purple line from 28 to continue on Douro. It's that County Road 8 that goes into the village there, where you have your mouse.
Yeah.
So that's the section that's not
currently
already highlighted.
Right. Anyway, sorry. Sorry, go ahead. Ricky.
And then the other edit that would need to be made to that map that you have up currently is that little section going into the village of Lakefield is removed.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. Or as far as I know, that's correct.
Yeah, I think this
Without
was-
any.
These are from the report through the chair. Yes, this is what was provided to council. Those amendments were what were made during that discussion. So
Right.
this particular map wasn't updated to reflect the actual changes.
Right, that's correct. And then that little section did be taken out for County Road 29. So anyways, my whole thoughts on this process is for the township roads. I do know that there has been some issues or could be possible issues, maybe on Birchview Road with people not wanting to have four-wheelers and ATVs or UTVs on the roads, on that road in particular, and possibly in around Donwood, in around the village of Donwood. But I look at, my thoughts are to intertwine to basically most people that I hear from, and a lot of them that showed up at the meeting that we had here, that was the last, well, I think there was probably, I don't know, 200 people here maybe, or 150 people, I don't know. I know the chambers was pretty well full, and 3/4 of the people were in, that was here, was in support of this. And that's what I hear and get contacted with and told that they want their roads open. And I can tell you, as a farmer right now, you can travel any of them and you're in the law. You don't have to have I was told I had to remove, I was going from one farm to another, actually. I was going over to another farm. And anyways, the police officer stopped me, and I had another fellow with me. We both had slow moving vehicle signs on, and he told us we had to remove them. That because of the provincial law, that is no longer a slow moving vehicle. They're considered under the Highway Traffic Act as a vehicle, and to remove them slow moving vehicle signs. So we did. Because he said, if I catch you again, I will charge you under the act with a slow moving vehicle sign, because you're covered under the Highway Traffic Act. So anyways, having said that, I believe that we can, I'm willing to say we can open it up as on our roads as a trial basis for a year, see how many complaints we get, and move on from there. That's my thoughts anyways, or that's my motion, I guess I would like to make, is other than maybe Birchview Road and the village of Donwood, so that we don't get them complaints from the lake people, and move on with allowing it to open up our roads.
If I may, through you, Chair Watt, I too have had a lot of comments on this topic from ratepayers, regardless if they live in South Dummer, Mid Dummer, or at the lake. And the feedback that I have received so far has been pretty clear and consistent. People generally don't want that I've talked to. They don't want the TV screaming up and down the road. I know we heard from the OPP here as well. They didn't seem to be too keen on having more ATVs on the road. But the one stat that really sits in the back of my mind is that Peterborough County is the number 2. Is it number 2 or number 3? Is it either number 1? It was number 2. Okay. Peterborough County is number 2 for ATV accidents. In the deaths, pardon me. Peterborough County is number 2 for ATV deaths in the province. The township of Douro-Dummer is number 1 in Peterborough County for ATV accidents. So I don't know. I think the OPP and the work that they do and the knowledge they have, I trust them. I trust their numbers. They're out on the road doing that type of work every day. They didn't seem to be overly keen on having more on the road. And I certainly don't want to see Peterborough County or the township of Douro-Dummer really fight it out to get into the number 1 position if we have the most deaths or most accidents due to ATVs in the province. Like, that seems to be an absolutely nonsensical thing to strive for, in my opinion. Sounds foolish sitting here saying it, doesn't it? So anyway, there are some of my comments and feedback that I received. As I said, feedback I've received and whatnot has been no ATVs or ORVs on any roads. And since things were passed at a previous meeting, option number 2, where we permit ORVs on county roads as requested by council at the meeting on June 20th, then with consideration given to the comments we see from Selwyn. So option number 2 is essentially the one that I would be in support of, since we're already half committed to it.
To the chair, I just want to ask Harold a question. Harold, you made a comment that you were pulled over as a slow moving vehicle with the sign on the back. They told you to take the sign off the back. Yep. But then they said, then you go ahead and drive. Yep. Yeah. So then how would they know if you're anybody or a farmer or whoever going to, you were saying you're on the provincial road, like Highway 28?
No, I was actually on County Line. was on County Road 4.
Okay.
And I was on County Road 4 when he pulled me over.
Mhm.
I had a trailer on the back of my, side by side. I was moving some material around, and I had another gentleman that was following me behind with it, and we both had slow moving vehicle signs on. And he told us we had to remove them because of the provincial law, that they're covered under the highway traffic.
And then he had no other concern, just, even though that road's not opened up? Like he had no concern?
No concern with it.
That really bothers
There was no concern over that.
They obviously don't know what we've got on paper, they obviously.
Well, I shouldn't speak for the OPP,
No,
and maybe the OPP can speak to this matter, but through the chair, I should have said, right? But through the chair, we've been asked, we have the OPP present, but I think where the confusion is, every township around is open, except our township. So we have people coming from Autonomy Township, we have people come, all of Autonomy Township is wide open. They can run their roads and drive and come right through into our township. And so when they get here, us people don't know where the boundaries are. They don't, in most cases, a lot of people don't have no idea where the boundary is. And it's the same thing, as soon as you go to the north, they're all open as well, or to the east. And so if you look at that, where everything is open, how are they gonna police that? And now that we actually have county roads open, I think it's even gonna be even more confusing for the OPP to try and charge people with being wrong on the roads. And I don't believe they really wanna go there.
Yeah.
But we can certainly ask our officer that question.
Didn't answer.
Point of order. Point of order, Chair. We have a motion that's on the floor that hasn't been seconded. So I don't know if we're talking to the motion or are we just talking in general conversation?
We put a motion.
I put a motion for you.
Would anybody be willing to second that motion to?
Sorry, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
can the motion be repeated, please?
I am putting a motion that we opened up our township roads. All and except for the Donwood area. They're the roads in Donwood, basically. And, Ridgeview Road.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion, or do we have a second for that discussion? See no hands, motion's lost. All right,
Just as through the chair, I didn't really finish up what I was getting at. Like, County Road 4 is not opened up. It's not opened up on, from Warsaw to Donwood or wherever it breaks that chain. So I'm really I'm just trying to understand, like, I asked the police to be at this meeting back at the time. I said if they could come to this meeting, I would really like their presence here. Anyways, like before we make any more rules and everything else, I mean, I think the police need to be at a meeting to know what rules we're making. Because if for instance, if someone was stopped on County Road 4 from Warsaw to Peterborough, that road's not open. They should be, as far as I'm concerned, they should be charged. Or why are we even talking about this? If they're never gonna charge anybody and the people would just run, why are we even talking about this? Why are we worried about opening up a road or not opening up a road? Because if they're gonna let everybody run at freedom, then what the heck are we talking about? I mean, do I wanna see that? No. But I mean, if the police are doing their job, then I don't know why they even bother with it. I'm really confused. I'd wanna talk to the police about this, because I mean, roads that we got on the map here where they can go around that circle. But anything else, we haven't been discussed, and anything else, the people should be in charge. And maybe they don't wanna get involved in this, and if they don't, then I don't know why I wanna get involved in it. Because if the police don't wanna come and know what we want in our township, we're paying the police our township, if they don't wanna be involved and want to know what roads are open or whatever, then I don't know why you wanna talk about it.
Thank you. We have our inspector from Douro TV online here.
Oh, is he?
Chris.
Okay, I didn't know. I'm not swearing at you.
Good morning, sir. Would you like to enlighten us a little bit on the what's, hows, and whys from your perspective, and where we could go from here with regards to the OPP?
Good morning and thank you. I know Staff Sergeant Kavanaugh provided some information at the general council meeting last time. I don't know specifically what you'd like me to comment on. I know the deputy mayor indicated that he was traveling on County Road 4 and encountered an officer. There is each officer's, oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to speak to the specifics of that. I don't have any information. I take the deputy mayor's word. There is obviously always discretion left with an officer when it comes to traffic enforcement. A plated farm vehicle is different than a standard ATV just being operated for leisure or travel purposes. But yeah, you have the stats. I just reconfirmed. Peterborough is still sitting at second over a 10-year analysis on Off-Road Vehicle Act fatalities. So at the end of the day, if whatever council decides what roads are open and which aren't, we will take enforcement action. It doesn't mean it becomes a priority. There's a traffic investigation. We will take the information that we have before us, and if we can safely conduct a traffic investigation and enforcement, we will do that.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Yes, Chris, I believe the statistics and don't get me wrong, I'm not in favor of, or I don't want to hear of anybody being any deaths or anything like that, but I believe them stats are 2 people in Douro-Dummer, and they were on private property, I believe, where that happened. The fatalities, I believe. Is that correct?
Again, I don't have all the information in front of me. I know a lot of our off-road vehicles are the fatalities or the serious collisions do occur on trails and private properties. There are some that do occur on the roadways as well. So
but I believe, Chris, in all fairness, the 2 that actually happened in Douro-Dummer were on private properties. I do actually kind of know the background behind that, but that's your stats.
right, and if that's the information that was presented at the last meeting, then factually that is correct. If that was received from Staff Sergeant Kavanaugh.
Correct.
I'm sorry, we weren't provided the report, so I don't know what staff is recommending.
Thank you, Chris.
Just a minute. If we could please, like with the audience, this is not a public meeting, so we need to keep order in here, so we got, so if we could just keep the chatter down to a minimum or go to the hallway or whatever, if you need to speak, if we would please, and thank you. Okay, any more discussion, questions, comments? Mayor Watson.
Through the chair, I've gone on the record on this. I am not a fan of ORVs, ATVs, UTVs on on the roads. I think, aside from statistics around injury and death and accidents, which is the ultimate price for that, I think there's other costs to our community that we are not taking into consideration when we just look at the statistics, regardless whether they happen on private property or not. It's more so about the insurance, maintenance costs for our roads. To me, like that's paramount, and we've had challenges in the past, and why contribute to that. It has to do with the noise and safety and peace of people who live in our community and people who traverse our roads, who are encountering currently illegally operating ORVs that are on township roads, and road legal drivers who can't navigate our narrow roads because of the way that they are being driven on township roads. Whether it's legal or not, it's happening right now, and it shouldn't be happening. And I don't necessarily want to be in a situation where we're encouraging more of that to happen. The loop that we have currently on county roads, quite frankly, are if ORVs are to be operating anywhere in the township, I think county roads makes probably the most sense because they're built with wider shoulders, they're built with proper line markings, so other travelers can better navigate where everybody is in relationship to the road. And they're built for a little bit wider noise separation, setback from residents, and a little bit safer for active transportation for people who are walking or riding bicycles to also be able to negotiate the road with additional vehicle pressures on those roads. I'm less concerned about the boundaries where current operators don't know where they are. I think it's a weak argument. I think if you operate any kind of vehicle or take up any kind of recreational sport that is governed by rules and laws, it is the operator's responsibility to know what those boundaries are. Lots of people hunt every November and December in the backwoods of our countryside, and it's those hunters' responsibilities to know whether or not the laws and rules apply to them in terms of be it Sunday gun hunting or other rules. And for provincial rules, it's the operator's responsibility. So, if somebody is operating in another municipality and they roll into ours, that's their problem as far as I'm concerned. I don't necessarily subscribe to the thinking that it is available everywhere and it's everybody but Douro-Dummer. I know quite factly, as a matter of fact, that Selwyn Township doesn't allow it in the village, hence why they asked us to strike that section of road from the county proposal to open up those roads. And I know in other municipalities neighboring us, there are limitations. It's not on necessarily every single road, it's on certain roads, and also restricts, in some cases, time of use. So, I don't feel like we are the lone municipality where everyone else is standing around or driving around us. I don't feel that that's the case, and I'm more concerned about the broader impacts on the community. So with that, I'm prepared to make a motion that we hold the course with what's been approved, the loop that's there, and not look at expanding the boundary any further. And that's my motion.
If I may, I'd like to have a little say here. I asked whether I could, whether I do vacate chair or whatever, but I am allowed to speak a little bit. And yeah, it's not cut and dry no matter what. I mean, if we say yes to some, we're going to be bombarded by complaints from a certain few. If we don't do it, we're going to be bombarded by complaints from the other side. So there's no win-win. There's no win situation here. I myself own one, as do probably a good portion of council here. It did come up in one of our meetings before that we do have to address it. It's up and coming, and I'm not saying open all the roads either. I would be quite happy to open just a few on a trial basis, see how it goes, see what it, and especially some connecting the north to the south here, like other than, because I think the only connection right now would be through Warsaw, like County Road 8 up to here and up to Bethel Church and then across. So I would really be in favor of trying something, and I know that did come up at a council meeting before. You know, we know that something coming, we have to try something. We don't have to go full bore off the start, but you know, the county's already done it. The county did extensive research on it. They hired a consulting firm to go through to do what they did, and they got through all of Peterborough County. So, I mean, they've done a lot of homework on it. Yes, there's legalities on it. Yes, there's always going to be problems. But, and then that's where my comment would be next to the OPP. And I know a comment was made there one time to me. Hey, you could go, I can eat your Camaro. Very, very true. I could. I don't, but I could. Same with somebody on an ATV or UTV, they act like total idiots. And I have no control of that. I have control over how I drive my bike. And that's all I have control over. So the thing would be if we go ahead and do open some roads or consider open some of the roads, that we ask the OPP to have zero tolerance, like zero tolerance. If there's somebody acting up or disobeying the rules that we got, nail them to the wall. And that's my say anyhow. So that's okay, Councilor Ward and everybody else.
So you, Chair Watt, just to your one point there regarding the OPP and zero tolerance. I agree with that approach, fully agree. I also think it's a waste of resources to actually need to call out the OPP. We could nip that in the bud by just not allowing it. So I'm not finished. So with that, I would like to second the motion that's on the table.
I'd like to throw this out to you. Every one of us own a car. The roads are legal for a car. How would you like it if we made a decision as council or the province said, okay, council, you can close off any road you want to a car. We can actually, we can stop cars from going up the road. It's totally a different situation. But I pay, and again, I'm being mistreated as an owner. Some of these things, these bikes are more money than a car. They're actually $35,000 and $40,000 I could spend on a UTV that I have. And I pay license, I pay insurance, I pay gas tax. I have a right to be on the road. And the province has said that I do. The province has said that I do, but they turned around and said, oh, municipality, you can make a decision on what you want to do on the roads. So therefore, and this is why so big of a turnout come here. And they're taxpayers as well, and they're legal owners of these vehicles. And they're upset. They're upset that us as a council will not pass this and will not allow people to fundamentally, it should be our right that we be able to do that, because I feel I'm paying just the same as much as a car, a snowmobile. I don't need nothing. You want to talk about safety? A snowmobile with sliders on. I go up the road. I have no control over where it goes as soon as I hit a road in lots of cases. But I can drive them, and the law allows me to drive them, and I'm paying for license and insurance and gas tax. Same with that, and I can take that snowmobile and go anywhere. But you want to condemn the people, law-abiding citizens. They are. It's already happening now. I came out here the other night from council and 2 4-wheelers went up the road. This is before it was even law, even come into law. So people are going to do it. And all the people that I hear say, we don't really care. We're going to drive them anyways. We are going to drive them anyways. And that's what they're doing. So why not make it legal that they can get on the road and give them that right? That other municipalities, other places do it. You know, if this ever happened, I would love to do a ride within the township and raise money for our fire department. I went, you know what? $30,000 in one day. I went to 2 of them. $30,000 in one day for the fire department. Is that not something that'd be worthwhile? I certainly think so. And you know something? The fire department there really appreciate it. And they've done 2 of them. $60,000 for 2 rides for one day. I think that, and the support, the OPP, we can call, you can talk to them, he's right here. Marmor Lakes, they do it every year. At $60,000 in the bank account after 2 rides. Is that not a worthwhile venture? I think so. Anyways, that's my, and you know something, I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna stop it. Us saying that we're not opening up any roads, that it's already happening. And people say, or kids right there running around now. It's not legal, but it's happening, and it's going to continue to happen, whether we want to sit here as a council and say, no, we're not doing it, It's been happening anyways. So that's all I gotta say, thank you.
Councilor Johnson, there's a motion on the floor that we have to deal with,
So I'm speaking to the motion now. Like, we went and did a map here that opens up the county roads, and the county supported us. In fact, they said whatever we want done. I didn't realize it the day that it wouldn't be coming back to us. Basically, they said whatever you want, you got, which things changed, so I didn't realize that. But anyway, their map, that's what it is. Right now, I personally would want to see see what's going to happen over the next year or so, whatever. I'm not going to put time limit on it, but to see what we've got out there. Like, I'm not in favor right now at all opening up any roads more than what the county's given. The thing is, you say that the kids are doing it anyways. Yeah, when the kids get off school, you know, 10, 12, 14, I won't go to 17 or 18 because they're not there. Those kids are on the damn machines up and down my road, up and down all over. And I mean, even if we did some roads, these kids are still gonna be on the roads. So I mean, you know, I'm dead against it right now. If things change and it proves out that this is a good thing we done, opening up the county road that we did, then I can live with that, and maybe I'd be interested in doing something down the road. But at this moment, I'm not interested in opening up any roads other than what the county's given. And I think because of a lot of things, as I say, we know that a lot of the people that are riding are safe-bearing, insurance. I don't know if they have mirrors or not, some of them, which really bothers me. But, and I don't know that they all have lights. You know, I've seen the other one without lights. I mean, those situations become very scary for the drivers that are going in the vehicles. The drivers in the vehicles, you know, I can't say nothing for them because they're abusing the driving on speed everywhere. I mean, you put any spike you want on the road, means nothing. They're in a hurry, they're gone. So as I said, there's so many things and so many people I talk to. I mean, yeah, I have a machine, and you know, we had a July 1st parade in Douro. The police that day pulled one of the people over going to the parade and give them a ticket. You know, like, oh my God, I actually took mine down the road too, to the parade, and I'm fortunate I didn't get a ticket. They didn't stop me, but they stopped the other guy and gave him a ticket for not, well, I guess probably not having the proper helmet on. But anyways, I'm just saying that, unfortunately, we live in a time that, you know, at one time, our kids never could afford four-wheelers because the parents had to be 45 years old or whatever before they could afford one. Now, they're giving the kids them at, you know, 10 years old. They're running these things, and they're not around when they're running them. They're coming out of school, and they're on the road at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's out of hand right now. And can we, by no opening up the roads, will that stop anything? Probably not. But unfortunately, I've never given permission to do it. And like I say, it's taken away from my own family too. And they live in a situation where they want to go a different place. But no, I'm not in favor of opening up the road. I want to see how this works out over a period of time. And then I may be interested in looking at a different area. But right now, I'm just sticking with what the county's got. It's my 2 cents.
All right, excuse me, so we have a motion on the floor that I think everybody's had a chance to talk to. One last comment from me before I call for the vote. I guess I look at it as we have an opportunity to make it legal for people, and that's all I'm gonna say. But, motion on the floor, and all in favor? It's carried. Okay, thank you, Chris. Much appreciated you coming on the meeting with us.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good one. Is there any business to be requested for our next meeting, which is going to be in February? Now,
No.
our next committee of the whole meeting.
Sorry.
You're going to be away on,
When is it?
so it's the 12th, is it 12th?
Through you, Chair, the next committee of the whole meeting is February 13th. There is no council meeting the week prior, which is
Right.
February 6th. I think that's where a bit of confusion arises.
Right. So you're gonna be,
I will be away on the 13th.
you'll be away on that one. Anyone else going to be away? I just want to make sure if we have to move in a week or two, whatever, to accommodate it, or whether we cancel it completely and put it off for another 2 months. It's totally up to the committee here, but I just want to make sure I don't, let's say, there's a possibility I'll be away. I don't know yet. I'm still, it's kind of in the works, but, there's nothing in stone yet, but, so the county there may be, I might be away the same week you are, sorry, maybe, I don't know yet, so it may be the week before. Councilor Johnson?
No one's invited me anywhere.
You're
yet.
good? Councilor Bulwark, you're good? Okay, Councilor Deputy Mayor Nelson? You're good?
I'm
Okay,
good
so
for the
let's just
13th.
keep it on the 13th. All right. And if there is any new business to be brought up, if you don't have it now and you do want something, just forward it into staff, give it plenty of time to have it on our agenda for that meeting, please. And at that meeting, there'll be nominations and a vote for a chair at the next year. Is there anything else that staff has? No? Okay, in that case, there's no closed session. And I will call for adjournment, please. Mayor Nelson, or Mayor Watson and Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Much appreciated.